That's what it is.
Me personally, the right one. I had a deal on internet a few years ago.
Yes.
But between both of us, Sean's just a youngster. Yeah.
We can.
We're one day
that new?
apart.
I think.
I know, ours
Send it.
in yours too, yeah, we're exactly one day apart. He's one day older than me.
Alrighty, let's get started here. Sorry we're a little late at 6:05. We'll, call a special work session, to order. And I guess, are we gonna listen to DDA first since we shut them from last night? Okay. Page of the.
There's a separate document I dropped off up there, see if you can find it, it's the funding service contract. So, I'll do just a little intro. So there's been some questions in the past about if CDA was set up correctly or not. And so that was the whole reason we kind of started looking at some sort of a contract, just to clarify the questions that there had been in the past about the DDA. And so this was, put together by Kathy. If you haven't read it already, it's a year-to-year agreement. It clarifies, in here that the DDA, is provided a city employee, or the city would give the DDA a city employee or two city employees, that would be overseen by the DDA board. In here it talks about, percentages of where, as it's written right now, it says that 75% of the time, the DDA director would be devoted to the DDA, and then 90% of the time of our, DDA coordinator would be at the DDA. The other percent would be spent helping the city project. So that's what's written in here. That's kind of the key items in there. So this is one approach to kind of, you know how every year we send the DDA $50,000, or that's what we've done historically, and then they utilize that for a variety of things, kind of taking care of the infrastructure in the DDA area. And then also historically, we paid for the salary and benefits of those two employees. So this is just a little different, and I think that's what we're gonna kind of open it up to discussion. And then also, a separate approach, which I'm sure we'll talk about too, is, like some of our ancillary and nonprofits, we just give them a lump sum of money, and then they take that and operate. So there's a couple ways to approach it. I think that this approach, makes sense to me, that Kathy drafted up, but, I think I'm gonna turn it over to Steve, and let's open up conversation about it.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, Council. I've read all of these. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to go through them. So if you have any questions about them, those I can answer. Other than what Sean had just said, it's a legal document. The DDA is a statutorily controlled entity, and therefore the agreement is a little more detailed than we've had in the past. One thing. I'm glad that you have a document you're headed. A couple of years ago, I asked a question, introduced the commerce down and used building down below I brought that up. Neighbor didn't want it. I dropped it. I had asked a question because for
tells me this, it says, we're an independent, we're a separate organization from the city. Yeah, okay. But I said, if that's the case, we'll keep our money. That was my answer to this. It doesn't work that way. It's supposed to be working like this, not, this is my turf and this is your turf. This doesn't work that way. We put this out, let it all go. I mean, at least I know what is coming from where I was screaming about. I just, that's where the questions came up. I don't even know if this, that's what the answer was to me. Well, I mean, we own this building. The building, we'll keep our money. It's kind of quiet after that. Tied together. Strongly support the DD. Big one. Not because they didn't do it right, it's because we have businesses, businesses down there that take up a lot of the parking. What you can do with that, I don't know. They're allowed to park there, but I mean, if I was just going through and I seen all those cars, this is moving here. All their pumping, doing their thing there. That and then the restaurant downtown. But a lot of good changes. I seen us and said that they wanted 1% of the sales tax to run. They come back and say, apology, I'm sorry. To run the whole program. Never got that big, that'd be sales tax or. Ain't there yet.
No. I don't know if you'll ever make it that far, it would require,
Well, I think some communities probably do.
depending on the size of their district, yes.
Yeah, and the businesses they have downtown, you know, the size of the community, makes a lot of difference. Other than that, like I say, I work a lot of, almost all of the things that they do. As far as stretching it out further, and we're an area that they're, by law, have to bring in. They can't get past that boundary. Person sitting on the borderline that doesn't get God. And he's putting out, their fault, it's just where they. Anyway, I'll let that one go, but else has it.
I have always had a little bit of heartburn about the basic structure of DDA. After visiting, about this and thinking about it in every way, shape, and form, this contract does straighten out a few things, it delineates a few things that weren't before, and I do appreciate that. that, there's an agreement in here, or there seems to be mutual agreement that DDA or the director or the two employees will work outside of that area under certain circumstances at certain times. And I don't know about the percentages, I like the first copy first, and I see it's been changed a little bit, but that doesn't really matter. The fact that there is a provision in this contract for that expertise to, help other projects in town, I feel a lot more positive about it. And, where this is a year-to-year thing, I think I could accept it for 1 year to see how it's gonna work. We do have a full-time economic development director also that's supposed to take care of the rest of the part of the town, and so there's gonna be two cats in the playpen, so we'll just have to see how that goes.
I don't have that big of a concern about that, and the reason that I don't is our volunteer crew of 50-plus people work and support a 16-block area. We're gonna need as much, actually Nate will need as much help as he can possibly get, in his endeavor to try to take what we do and expand it throughout the city. There's gonna be a lot of hands on deck to make that work. And anything that we can give you to do that is what we wanna do. We've had this conversation before about whether it's 75% or 55%. A lot of it has to do with what projects do you have? What is he working on? What are we working on? And how do we integrate between this entity and the city to make those things available to him so that he can move as quickly as he can possibly go?
Well, like I said, you know, it's a year-to-year contract, so I guess, at the end of the year, I'll look at it and decide if I like it or not, but, I think we need a lot of help in the rest of the town too.
I agree.
And so, where that's incorporated into this, that's what makes it acceptable to me.
I just wanna say, I fully support TDA and the work they've done. I don't think this would probably be, there's an issue if Pam wasn't as amazing as she is. It's her expertise is so valuable to the downtown. I think that's why Terry's upset. I'm not upset, but Terry's upset because it's not being utilized across our city. I would have been fine without a contract. I think this does make things a little cleaner. But I fully support it.
Marty, yeah, I was trying to,
Sorry.
where does the manager fit in on this? I look at the way things were. Supervisor of all, and under this contract, and when.
It stays that way.
That's still an employee.
I know you're probably right, because I probably didn't read it correctly, but I guess I was thinking that 100% board, the board would handle those, and 30%. I just want to know.
So, in general, she just remains what she has always been, which is an employee of the city. It's a unique, sometimes uncomfortable, I do agree with Terry that this is what creates some of the muddiness to what goes on. The way the state statute reads, she's an employee of the board of directors of the DDA. But because she's paid by the city, she answers directly to the city manager. That's what makes it muddy. That's where it gets muddy. Something that we've been working with for, 30 years now. So been that way, it's always been muddy like that, and there are ways around. Some of them are more uncomfortable than others, and some of them are not uncomfortable at all. I think that we as a board, we have a much more relaxed way that we operate. Pam runs DDA so efficiently that we only have to come in with ideas of things we want to do. We don't have to worry about anything else. And what she has to report to the city council or to the city manager has been well defined, and she has to report those things. The DDA has to answer to way more than just council or the city manager. They also answer to the state, Main Street and the national Main Street. So we have enough governing bodies at this particular.
I'm not looking at this DDA and
Mm-hmm.
some of us might not be here,
Mm-hmm.
I might not be here, another, director comes in, that's where I'm looking at. So that, just wanted to know where the manager stood in regard to, being in charge of the, period. That was that.
Okay, the simplest answer, 75% of the time, they're reporting to the board. And I'm not gonna, well, that's what the board is for. The other 25%, I would work with, for example, with, can you do, with what the council would like to see, projects or something for the, is that equivalent to 25%?
This I'm talking about, more about funding, the kind of put out, not we, I mean, taxpayers put out. Something was to go down. We should be held responsible.
And it does clarify in the contract, what the council, what they have, what's involved. And if the board of directors for the DDA decides that for whatever reason we don't particularly want Pam anymore, by the way, would never happen.
You do?
Yeah.
No, thanks.
That just wouldn't happen. But at that point, she becomes a full-blown employee of the city again, and it's up to the city what they do with her at that particular juncture. Normal
So
employee
pretty much got two people to,
that she answers
to
to
live,
masters.
two different people, the board, and then she has the manager has.
That's the part that's muddy, yes.
Carol? You had a chance to read that.
Most of it.
I have no concern. I just want everybody to know that I'm not anti-DDA at all, and I do, and always have recognized the difference in our town because of DDA and of all the hard work. The structure bothers me. It just is so weird to have that type of a structure. Where you have, we pay the wages, we pay the benefits, on payday, you're our employee every other day, none of our damn business. It's just weird for me to get used to. After visiting, with some of you, and then looking at this, contract, Vice Mayor Wells is right, I do want Pam's expertise working. And that has always been my goal, so, just understand that, I do appreciate DDA and what you have done. That has nothing to do with that, has nothing to do with personalities, I think you're all great people, I do, I think we're friends. It's
It's a weird structure. I don't think I'm gonna like it, but I'm gonna adhere to your contract. I'll be willing to go along with it for a year.
And we all know that Terry loves to hate on me. And I hate that I really like him. Drives me crazy.
Don't blame me on that.
So, that's the contract portion of what we've handed to you, and then probably also have the, operating budget maintenance of city, Rollins assets, which is the ask itself, the $50,000. It's in your big books, you're gonna have it as just $50,000. This is the actual breakdown page of what that $50,000 does.
So that's, is that in their nonprofit book?
That'll be in your nonprofit book, but I'm working on pulling it out. You don't have those to reference.
So I don't know if you have that, you may or may not. When you do get it, you'll notice the top 2/3 of that $50,000 is what runs the DDA itself, and then the bottom $16,000 of that are actually City of Rollins assets that we maintain. So, about 1/3 of all of that money goes directly, city assets, right there on the bottom. Those are, assets that belong to the city. So about 1/3 of the total money actually goes to maintenance.
That is in your nonprofit book, is, I believe.
I hate to ask something silly. What's the last thing? What's bowlers?
Bollards are the lights that stand up on the corners.
Okay.
This is the money would be,
This is the
it's like
50,000.
nonprofit money, where you come in and you say, we're requesting 50,000, and this is what we're gonna use it for.
And this is
For
what
each
you got
council
there.
could change that from time to time. They didn't like something, they could.
You scroll up.
Yes, sir. So like 5 years ago, it used to be 75,000. We slowly brought it down. With other grants and funding we've gotten.
That's the money that we spent actually within the, on the DDA program.
Total budget that
Of the 15.
of the, not the total budget, no, of that 50.
Normally when we show up and say, okay, their ask is 50,000, which it was last year, this would have been the same sheet that you've gotten. It would have, it had very similar numbers, they don't fluctuate up and down very often. What we did do was break out parts that actually are Rollins City properties that we maintain in the downtown area. That's that bottom 16,000 that you see. We won't see it on there, but it's that one right there.
All right. Anybody have any questions? Clear as mud? Actually, it's very clear to me now that I look at all of that. I appreciate that.
You're up.
You're up. I'm out of warranty. Thank you.
You wanna present this one?
No, really, I'm good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Right. No. Nine. No, it starts with five, right?
That's your shit, no.
Right.
Nothing there.
Right, yeah.
I don't have my grandpa.
Honorable Mayor and, city council members, Mike Ward on behalf of the, city police department. The police budget starts on page 9 of the, binder that you have. This little part on the bottom of page 9 here is actually, salary and benefits. I'd like to turn over to page 10. the first line item you see that, is highlighted in yellow is the, travel and training budget that, we're asking to be increased. Obviously, building our employees citywide and taking care of our strategic plan. In my profession, training is essential, it's critical, it's mandated by law. In addition to that, in my profession, training is always viewed as, very desirable by the employees. In fact, in the last, quarterly check-in we did with the employees, more training was mentioned, quite a bit by both the civilian and staff at the police department. There's logistical reasons, why training is important as well. We have 4 current police officer openings, hire and fill those positions soon. There's a good chance that they'll have to go to the State Law Enforcement Academy in Douglas. We have other training this year. We've been light on training the last couple of years, obviously, because of COVID. A lot of training has been, canceled or done online. We are state mandated to sworn officers, to receive hours of training every year. We have 2 K-9 handlers that need to recertify with their training this year. We have a new victim advocate that needs, training to be, advocacy, number of other trainings that are coming up this year that might include, conferences for our report writing system, records management conference. We are looking to increase our budget to take care of operating and performing,
One quick question on the, law enforcement academy, what's it cost us since?
So the majority of it is paid for by the state. We do have to pay for ammunition, for the officers that go through there. Do you happen to know what that's for?
Yeah, it'll be about $1,600 when it's all said and done.
Oh, really, that's
Per position.
way less than I thought it might be.
Yeah. Also, we'd have to equip and outfit each of those 4 officers when we equipment.
What's that cost per person?
Fairly significant.
If we bought everything new, we would be upwards of about $20,000. For just uniforms, equipment, computers, things of that nature. Most of that stuff's recycled, so.
And it's also a
computers, things like
different
that.
part of the budget in terms of the.
I just was curious.
Yeah, and the uniforms, those can't be shared. They can, some of them get reused, but just out by the time you get them.
One guy has a bad reputation, he'll wear his shirts.
Sometimes the officers become attached to their,
For sure.
they're like an old pair of jeans, I guess. I brought a number of members of staff this evening. All the audience are fun. I'm also reserving the option to do a half and half, if you guys ask me a question that has both. If we jump down to the next highlighted area right there, this is gonna be line item 330, Public Assistance Program. This relates to our victim advocates. The volunteers, we have 7 volunteers, who cover on call. They have to go through the same training else does. This money is used to purchase items that they would need in order to perform their duties as volunteers, things that identify them as victim advocates, like shirts, packets. Also, because they are volunteers and they do volunteer quite a bit of time, this includes volunteer lunch and the next item down here is vehicle operation. It's highlighted. It's, number ending in 470. This is increased across the board, I think, citywide. This has to do with, the price of gas going up. Now we come down to the uniform, line item 480, and this is, what we were just talking about. We have increased this as well. There's a couple reasons for that. One of them involves those 4 open positions. We're also interested in, replacing our Class A uniforms, our dress uniform. We wear this when we attend, functions, funerals, and things like that. When we do so, we're not only representing the police department, but we're representing the city of Rollins. Last time that Class A uniforms were officers in Rollins was 22 years. Some of them still exist. They're kind of piecemeal. that are hired. So, part of the increase in this line item has to do with, the potential purchase of Class A or dress uniform officers. Another issue is that, the city of Rollins and the police department have not issued outer ballistic vest carrier. I can tell you from the ballistic vests, when we wear them under our shirts, it's really uncomfortable, it's very hot. The outer vest carriers, are much more comfortable. We don't issue them to the officers. Some of them have them and they purchase them at their own cost, and it's about $500 that they spend. Most departments are now issuing these along with their ballistic vests. What we'd like to do is start issuing the outer vest carrier as we replace the vests. The vests are on a 5-year cycle. When new officers come in, we would be interested in that outer vest carrier, and then for the officers that are already, employed by the city, as their vests, get replaced. On a different it's a 5-year cycle, but depending on when they get their vests, yeah. That's the expenditure that we're asking for on that line item. We drop down to, under animal control, this will be the fourth line up from the bottom on page 10, consultant contract other. We're looking to increase the line item budget expenditure that has been set aside for vet bills. So, when we bring, dogs and cats in, before they get adopted out, they get spayed and neutered. Also, animals in our care frequently need medical attention. What we'd like to do is not go over budget. We'd like to ask for a little bit more money so that the budget, is adequate, and then, of course, if we don't spend it at the end of the year. Go to the next page 11 here, about 1/3 of the way down here. Now we're gonna be into the 911 center portion of the budget. Line item, 207, consult contract Infotech. This is a $45,000 increase over last year, but that's because last year's, budgeted, allotment was 0. Here's that last year, this item was not budgeted in the budget. Go back and look at the, 2019-20 actual was 49,000, at 64,000. Right now, we've already spent 48,000. This money is, used, for not software, but, maintenance of our 911 system. And I'm gonna call on Belita in just a second. The reason we're asking for 45 as opposed to the other years where you see the 49, the 64, the 46 is because some of the items that are normally in this line item, the software, have been taken out and translated over to Josiah, under our IT area. So, 45,000, we believe, would be adequate to, the contracts for the maintenance.
What that is the Motorola contract for our radio system. It inadvertently somehow got left out last year, so we show that we're in the negative for that amount. Because it, got left out from somewhere.
That's like a maintenance program.
Yeah, so if we have radio problems, we can call them, they come take care of it. This last weekend, we had a total radio outage, and they were able to come down on a Sunday and get that part of our contract.
And that's at the dispatch center, and do they take care of the cars too?
Part of our cars too.
Okay.
Go down to the next line item here, 250, travel and training. This is the travel and training budget for the dispatchers. We're looking to increase that, by $15,000. Some of the reasons behind this involved, 2 dispatchers that are gonna leave, 1 current and 1 open vacancy. Those 2 positions are gonna be dispatcher training. We have other conferences coming up this year, related to, dispatching and records. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Our academy is not free, we have to pay, I think it's $500 or $600 plus the travel for our dispatchers to go to training. It's not free for the officers, so that's gonna cost us a little bit. And I've introduced so much new technology to our center, and with technology comes more training, and so in order to keep everybody up on what we're getting in technology and to keep it as current as possible, let's increase it by $50,000, we'll keep our girls trained.
guys, if we get one, to a level where we can meet the expectations of the
Curious, but where do you send these folks? That training take place?
the academy, they go to Douglas, they have to be code certified in Douglas. And we have to have, between 20 and 40 hours every 2 years, depending on, what level we're at. To become a professional, it takes, you have to have 40 hours in 3 years. We also send them to different Stillman conference to learn how to use our records management system there. It's usually just been supervisors going, but I'd like to have some more people get certified in some of that stuff. We have a lot of new stuff, things are constantly evolving, and our current training program is the same one that I was trained on 25 years ago.
Pretty
So,
current.
our in-house training, so, we need to upgrade our in-house training with newer materials.
Thanks, Belita. So, jumping down to, line item 370, 911 system. It appears that, last year, the budget, neglected to include some of the line item that it should have included. This line item includes our, contract 911 system known as Viper. It pays for the 911 line bills. There's another system now called Rave 911 that's, accounts for $6,500, of the increase that we're asking for. So, in combination with that as a new item and some other items that were left out of last year's budget, that accounts for the increase that we're asking on, this line item for 911 system. And Belita?
We have, Lumen, which is, that we all knew that our 911 system, lines coming in and out. There was a couple different contracts with them. One of them is new, that we should have been paying all along, but apparently somehow it got lost. I got information recently. And then we have the Rave 911, which is an extra $6,500, and, our annual maintenance for Converge One that takes care of our 911 phone system itself.
I brought Belita because my, extensive expertise involves pushing the button and speaking. Dropping down to, line item 440 is equipment. There's certain things within the dispatch center, which is not only the dispatcher's office, but literally the chair they sit in. We'd like to replace a broken desk in the record section and bedroom, excuse me, and replace a couple chairs, and that accounts for the increase in this line item right here. So if we turn to page 12, about halfway down, you'll see, where code enforcement, is. Code enforcement officer position, is discussed frequently here. It just moved from the fire department to the police department last year. When that happened, apparently we neglected to put money into the line item of 210. Yeah, 210. And what that is for is a towing budget for the code enforcement. The officer need to tow a derelict vehicle off of a property or something like that. Now, the reason that this is separate from our other budget that includes normal towing is just to account for what the code enforcement officer better for. Okay, this was police towing. So now if we move to the capital budget, for something, please.
If you go to page, at the very bottom, the last orange one on page 10, we need to add some money. The deer culling that we talked about, I think I think it was like 15,000 or something like that, so instead of that 3,500, we needed something in addition to that. It would be right here, under consultant and animal. So if I may, I'll just add that in there.
This line for consultant animal control is actually for the deer line is actually under.
Oh, yeah, so, and we've got 10,000. That's to
Where are you at on that?
On that same page, 492.
We're about four down from the front.
And it's the current budget of 10, and then 10,000, we'll add 5,000 to it, and then we'll see. I'll do that. And then capital, I think I want to go bring fire up and we'll do their budget, and then we'll kind of all switch over to capital after we do the budget.
Thank you. Well done. You don't mind if I write a doodle on it, do you? Of course not. I like a fire truck. I'm not that skilled, sorry. Okay, Honorable Mayor, Madam Vice, and our other two members of the council, and Councilman Durst, I think is online, yes? Okay, yes, all right. All right, let's just jump.
Somewhere.
Yeah. We'll just pretend he's online.
Dude, I'm here. It just takes me a minute to find the mute button.
Okay. All right, so, going down, if you see, the fire starts on page 11. And if you start going all the way down, the first one is basically a, pension increase, so that has nothing really to do with me, that pretty much was, payroll.
And I need to modify that number. I got a document today, I think it was like 11,000, and
Okay.
I'll update that.
Excellent. Then, as we go down, we did increase our overtime pay. As you can see, this year has been a lot of overtime, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that we were down, 3 positions for quite some time. And now that we are back fully staffed, I'm hoping that number that we did put in there, is 30,000, we won't touch that, I'm hoping. Get a little bit more, clamping down a little bit more on overtime now that, we have a full staff. Going down, the next one you see is travel and training. We added an additional $10,000 for a safety program. And is that the one that we're looking at maybe outsourcing for us, boss? Yes, okay, yeah. I just want you to know that, this was a number I was told, put that in your budget. Okay, I'll put that in my budget, that's fine. And the $5,000 was just for the new CDL training. If you don't know, there's a whole new CDL program, and it has come with a massive cost. You can no longer do it in-house, you can't, just send your people up there once they're done. You have to go to a formal training class with it, but we have some good news. The State Fire Marshal's office, they just put out a, training verification that they're trying to get it done through them. That way we can send our firefighters through the State Fire Marshal, and we're gonna waive those fees. And we got told that yesterday, so that's very, very positive. Because it's supposed to be pretty expensive, and just to find the contractors around the state now that can do it, is almost impossible. Thank goodness we have all of our guys with CDLs now, that that's not affecting us immediately, but if we do have any turnover, that would affect us dramatically. Okay, turn the page 12. As you know, we picked up the building official, and we've added all through money, and just, as a matter of fact, we took a lot of her budget out because of the stuff that, we could provide, without having to have like an additional line item, and it really didn't affect our budget too much. But one of the ones that did, is the ads, dues, and publications. She has her own requirements for books and online programs, and, we also need a NSE library for all the guys who are testing, and gals, if you want to just, we have all guys now, that are testing for promotion. They have to have the actual NPA books available for them to do that, and right now, we do not have a library for them. I'd like to get that set up, that way we have all the proper publications that they need. Please, if there's something, as I'm going, please stop me. Building and grounds maintenance, we want to put, heaters inside of our building at, Station 2. That houses our hazmat trailer. Right now, it's not heated. We were very fortunate to get it, my goodness, what do they call that when they a certain type of insulation they pour on the inside, so anyway, insulated, I guess I can use that. And now we'd like to actually have some heaters put in there too, to make sure that the heat, or obviously the temperature gets regulated. Moving on down, under hazmat, we're due for 6 new level A suits. That's the only thing that we will require for the hazmat trailer, for next year. Uniforms, so I guess we were on the same line as, the police department. We wanted, since most of you got to come to the banquet or have seen it before, a lot of our firefighters that have more than 3 years, are supposed to have Class A uniforms. And they're about $750 a piece, and I'd like to get those for the guys. The same reason that the police department said. It really is, it's great for functions. We do a lot of things besides just the banquet, when we go out, celebrations of life and stuff like that. Really like all the firefighters to have the same uniform and look sharp. Am I through? I am. Not a whole lot of, not a whole lot of raises and that stuff for us. I think, as I told a lot of people before, I said, it's the first time in my almost 34 years, 34 now, that, I've been in a place where the budget is outstanding. I have no issues with it. And you can't say that very often in the fire service. Usually you're begging for everything and scrapping for everything, and, we're taking very well care of you. We appreciate that very much. Okay, okay, I'll hold my breath, Mayor, and next year you can call on me, okay?
You never know.
Yeah. Any questions? You good? Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one more.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
When you're gonna install these heaters, have you increased your, the utilities to that to match?
I did not. Thank you for.
How big of a building is that?
Oh, goodness. It's a pretty decent sized building. I mean, couldn't give you the square footage right now, but it, maintains all of our, spare hose, the hazmat trailer, which is a full-length hazmat trailer, one of the generators for the city. So, yeah, it definitely does, but no, I did not.
Bumped it a little bit up.
Yeah, you might need to.
But thank you for that, Mayor, that was something I didn't consider.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, that's fine, yeah. Everybody looking at, it, right?
Yeah.
All right, should I move on to the hot seat?
Yep. We'll take Jason.
Take yourself out now.
The mayor and council, I think, Parks and Recreation budget starts on page 13. And, the first few items are in regards to golf course revenue. First one, line item 802 is based on prior year actuals. Next line item is for memberships, we're looking to increase promotion and get, limits to our junior golf program. Just COVID and for other reasons with our golf pro in the past, operating the restaurant, we just weren't where we needed to be as far as, encouraging and promoting youth, golf.
I'm sure. Need to fix this. I think I was looking at the 14,400 that was budgeted before, but we actually. But I'm gonna, oh, wait, that's right, so we did take, I'm sorry.
And the next is Pro Shop retail sales. We are looking to remodel our Pro Shop and making some, changes in the merchandise that we sell through there. So we're anticipating an increase in revenues. Going along with, increased promotion, we're hoping to get an increase in cart rentals as well as green fees. And then turn the page. Next is Recreation Center revenue. Recreation Center membership, item 854. We're looking to increase $5,000. We're looking to increase memberships, due to all the great things that our staff is doing there, new weight room coming in, gym floor getting resurfaced. So I think that we'll, memberships, and if you look back at the current year actual, 3,000, just this point this year, and if you look back in 2021, it was, already where we should be, and we're hoping to keep that going up. Next item is 855, rec activity something that you'll see in the next letter and activity guide. You'll see a lot more, trips and tours offered to youth and we're hoping to increase those programs. Next one down is 01, the City Latino Heritage Celebration. That's an anticipated grant, but we are not, going to be proceeding with that grant. That one, we'll revisit that as an opportunity. Then if you look at item 170, temporary pay, there's a reduction in seasonal for that, and that was part of when, staff approached council last year to add a new position of recreation supervisor to the department, which has been, so fantastic, and we're able to do more. But we also promised council that we would cut back in some of our seasonal revenue, so at the end of the year, or at the end of 2 years, we're not looking at a by having that position. That's where that reduction comes from. Next line item, 205, consultant contract engineer. This is for the golf course, and, there's 11,000 increase, and that is to, hire a consultant to work with us on, the retaining wall that we need to look at doing out on Long Holes. Of course, where that big lake is. I started here, there was, within the budget, I think $175,000 to build a retaining wall there, but the idea was to do a plastic retaining wall, which myself and other staff members didn't really, not that type of design. That's out there, it would stand out, so instead of just going forward with that, we hire a consultant to come out and help us give us lake rock, other things like that, that lake from. Next down there is 280, building ground and maintenance, and that's just basically because the current fiscal year, several capital items were placed. This year we've done that. Prior years. Turn the page. Again, item 170, temporary pay, that $5,000 reduction is to help pay for the recreation supervisor position. And I want to agree that by cutting these seasonal positions, in no way is going to provide any neglect on the care for our golf course, the care for our park system. The next one down is 484, merchandise. Again, this expense is to make improvements to the pro shop that we're looking at doing at the golf course clubhouse. It's going to cost us a little bit more, And the next one down, other CSB 1 rec board grants. It didn't have any grants on the table, anticipated at this. Turn the page.
When does that rec board meet? And where's their deadlines?
They meet monthly, they have like a, kind of an ongoing $5,000 grant opportunity, and then I believe their big grant is due like November or somewhere around there, and then the awards come out January. At one time a year where they do. And they might do that more than once a year, because we did, in the last couple months, receive a grant, $12,000 to replace the weight room, so when we get the new. So next, we're looking at the recreation center, and, line item 170 for temporary pay. Again, this is, part of this $24,000 reduction is a reduction in seasonal staff at the recreation center, which makes perfect sense because we have a new full-time recreation center. But the other, thing that I wanted to fix is the shooting range Next line item are 240 and 241, recreation programs and recreation program support. This is to support the additional recreation offering through the recreation center now that we have the, recreation supervisor. Item 246, recreation tournaments. We're looking to get back to the days of 10, 20 years ago when we had 20, softball teams and a lot more people, adult sports and tournaments, as well as youth sports and tournaments. To increase our expense, offer some more of those, try to get people to ball fields. And next, under 250, travel and training. Part of this is the new recreation supervisor position, and part of it supports district, to train our employees. We've already increased our training, department-wide, and it's going extremely well. Our parks, park maintenance, under some training, and they come more motivated, they learn. Many great reasons to offer these, travel and training so that they. Next is 280, building and grounds maintenance, and again, this was an item that there were capital items rolled in this current fiscal year. We have materials, so materials and supplies, years past, it was just supplies, and so, for example, recreation center, they might go buy duct tape or volleyball or other kind of just random supplies. This current fiscal year, we were asked to pull supplies out, and supplies would only be office supplies, and then the budget would be, included. And, so this current fiscal year, that materials budget didn't play for whatever reason, so I'm going back to adding, the $5,500 to materials, but I'm also reducing supplies, and I do see something here, in the proposed budget. I would probably propose, $4,000 for that $7,000. We need supplies for copy paper.
On a negative, 7,000.
Next one is music in the parks, item 495. So we increased it $5,500, just the cost of bands that's going up, and also the cost of equipment replacement. We don't want to see us in 5 or 10 years with $20,000 in replacement. All of our, our great as needed, so that increase comes from. And then item 567 is the, this is the city-run Latino event, that we should have a name for it soon. This is for the band and the advertisements and everything. And, it's gonna cost $6,000 plus lodging and meals, so it's $1,000, that leaves us $1,000 to advertising and things like that. The great news is, I mentioned, we're able to move the event August 12th, which is the David Latino celebration that was offered last year at Depot Park. So Friday evening, we'll have an event at Washington Park, and then Saturday day, Depot Park. The advantage is we can work together. We can have one poster to advertise this, and we can, the city's money's gonna go a lot further.
What about the cultural?
We are not applying for the Cultural Foundation grant. There needed to be a partnership as a grant application. We are gonna look into it now because we've moved to the 12th, and maybe we can go for that, but I believe the deadline was last Friday. I'll have to do that.
Why are we missing a state-funded grant?
So at the time of the deadline, our event was August 5th, and it was a city-run partnership. My understanding, that was one of the
talked to, board of directors of operation, they're the ones that said, I told them one time, I'm kind of leaving, I said, well, how much would it cost you to run this thing? I applied for 10. Get it? So the DDA did, and they got 10. After that, got 5, and then, and below that, they didn't get any because they didn't apply for it, deadline.
We did not qualify at the time, the deadline for that grant, because we were doing the event, an event without other partnerships, qualify for that grant is that's the deadline.
And I don't know anything about that, I just know that got the money, and then after that, we've just slowly been not getting it, and it's sitting there, and every other town in the state is picking it up.
So that, we got it last year, that was,
Yes. Okay. We wouldn't have to budget for it if we were getting the grant. Qualifications, then, paying for it, becomes
good news is going forward, next year, because we are doing it as a collaborative effort, a weekend event, try to get more people to travel Friday night, Saturday night for those events, because it's a partnership with other local entities, we will qualify for that grant, so we'll probably do a double grant, Friday night and one for Saturday night. Definitely gonna be on board.
right.
And if we're gonna do a 2-day event, then the visitor council also will be eligible for visitor council.
Advertising, things like that, yep. The next item is 130, employee, I'm sorry, 170, temporary pay. This is that 14,500 that I mentioned, because this is shooting range, this is moved from the recreation center budget to the shooting range. Another one for the shooting range, item 484, there's an increase of $7,150. This is because the sporting clays in the past have been, purchased by the budget, and I wanted to be more transparent, have it purchased by the budget. Then green spaces, the first item is item 170, temporary pay. We did reduce the temporary pay, which is the seasonal positions for the green, the Parks Department. But we added some back because there are additional city facilities that our parks crew are maintaining, as well as the cemetery. We want to put a little more focus on the maintenance of the cemetery, and we're actually gonna, one of our full-time employees will be full-time, hours a week, and then so we reduced that temporary pay, but then we put it back. That's why it's a break-even point. And then green, parks also, item 280, building and grounds maintenance, again, that's because capital items, the current fiscal. And item 470 for parks and general operation, you heard from, before, repair, this is repairs to outdated equipment as well as increased fuel. And unless you have any questions, I think we'll be moving on to capital items.
If we turn to the, second page of the, capital 10-year plan, all of the, police, 911, and ambulance. There are 2 items that are listed on this slide, and,
There's not a page.
Oh,
Very
that's the back one, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We get about a quarter of the way down there, the first line where it says police administration. We have the replacement of, two 2011 Ford Expeditions. These are our K-9 vehicles. They're currently in horrible shape. We recently had a pursuit initiated by one sergeant, another sergeant driving one of these vehicles, a K-9 sergeant, went to assist him. The vehicle died and he was unable to assist the officer that initiated it. The other vehicle, also driven by a K-9 sergeant, currently, whenever that sergeant's off, he has to jumpstart the truck, when kids and then stuff. Both of these vehicles are not functioning, up to any type of a level. This is a carryover from last year's budget. We have quite a few carryovers. We, currently have a bid that, we're about ready to submit. However, if we are cleared to submit that, chances are that the vehicles wouldn't be delivered and the payment would be until after July. Second, item down here is the, police department remodel, new building feasibility study. This is one of the items that's listed on here twice for some reason. If you were to go down 1, 2, 3, about 4 lines, it's listed there again. I've crossed that one off, and I'm gonna go with the one that's up top. This was a budget carryover. It was approved for last year's budget, $30,000. We've been meeting recently with the city clerk. And this is not just a police department, feasibility study for a new police, or a public safety headquarters that would combine both the police and the fire department. Feasibility study would be to hire an architectural firm that would assess our current facilities to see if they could be remodeled and upgraded, or if it would be, or make more sense to just build a new facility that would house both of them. The first step in this is to put out a request for, architectural companies to get what they could do. Another carryover from last year is to replace the handguns. The current handguns that we carry are 10 years old, or at end of life. Although from last year. This next one, we've decided to hold off on. This is for the second code enforcement officer, position, to purchase a used truck for that position. Because that position is frozen, we've kind of put this one in holding pattern, so it was accurate. Tasers. This one's a little concerning to me as well. This is a carryover from last year. Our current tasers are actually past the manufacturer's, date of expiration. Another issue that we're seeing is, the longer that we wait to expend funds that have been allocated, prices are skyrocketing due to, so this is a carryover. We very much would like to, put it out to replace it. So the feasibility study, is the next one down. That's a repeat, so that's crossed off. Animal control truck is a repeat that I left further down, so that's crossed off as well. Next one up is, 2 lines here to replace, 2 2014 Ford Interceptor vehicles. The police budget has been forecast out about 10 years, and we have our vehicles on a replacement cycle. These are, 2 vehicle replacements that we are asking for in the next, fiscal budget starting in July. Initially, we were going to, make a case to keep these 2 vehicles as opposed to trading them in, possibility of increasing the size of the sworn. Not asking for any more sworn positions in the budget. What I'd like to argue, and I don't know if we discussed this yet, Sean, I'd like to keep those vehicles and use them as, travel cars, one for the police department and one for the city. So when we have, our civilians that need to go to training, so they're able to borrow a car that's not being used, or maybe that's available. If we were to take these 2 older vehicles, take the markings off, take the lights off, and, use one as a PD travel car, give the other one to the city to use as a travel car, that's kind of what I'm thinking with them.
Mileage.
I think they're actually relatively low, like 40,000, 50,000, but let me just confirm with the audience here. mileage on them is relatively low. So, you know, in terms of police vehicles operated by police officers, mileage is always a factor, but the longer you go, every year the safety aspects of the while the mileage may be low, safety aspect too in terms of cars on a regular basis. They're 8 years old, safety has improved after 8 years on year.
Mileage means some things on some vehicles, but a lot of times police cars are not moving and they're running and wearing out. So the mileage is not the only.
So the next lines down are actually, projections out to future, budgets. We drop down to about 3/4 of the way down. It says, replace one animal control truck. This is, one that was listed above that I would cross out and leave it down there. This bid has already, been out and it was accepted. I brought it before you, I believe in November. This is something that's in progress. It's on here as a potential. Next down, we have, mobile radios for the animal control vehicles. There's 2 animal control vehicles. The radios in both are extremely antiquated. And as we move to new dispatch systems, they're about to become obsolete. Kennel expansion. So, right now, when we have low numbers of dogs in the shelter, they all get taken out at the same time for time. But when we have larger numbers of dogs in there, that means we have to rotate them through, and it takes officers who. Also, this upgrade is going to, ensure that the appropriate space of these outdoor rec areas for the dogs, is sufficient that the dogs can't dig under.
Those, kennels inside the kennel, the larger perimeter.
Outside. So then we drop down to the, last police item on, the budget for next year. 911 call taking system. We are currently within 1 to 2 years of the end of life of our, current, system. Upgrading it now will provide, it's gonna need to be done within the next year or two. But there's also benefits with the new system. One of them is that, the new system with the new software allows for easier searching of past calls in recordings and things of that nature. The software has advanced where if you have to go backwards and listen to a call or find a call, the new software makes that much. Also a cloud-based system, as opposed to, a hardwired system right now. The new system would also allow calls to actually go through the circuits and make it to the dispatchers slightly quicker, and it also allows for the faster transferring. So in, Carbon County and in Rollins, if somebody calls 911 from the highway, that's gonna come to the Rollins dispatchers and it has to be transferred to the highway patrol dispatchers. Calls that are technically outside the city limits and have to be transferred over to the sheriff's department.
The software over there. That sounds like it's very tedious.
They just upgrade the software. It's the same program we have right now.
Oh, okay.
It would just be an upgrade and, new hardware.
Then everything will eventually go to the cloud.
I don't think it's cloud-based, it's gonna be hardware. What goes to the cloud is as a supervisor, if I need to go back and I do it constantly in records, I make calls for the county attorney's office. And I can't do that if I have 2 dispatchers working because I have to log in on one of our dispatch consoles because it's hardwired. But it'll be in the cloud to where I could do it from home, I could do it from my office, or say I'm at a conference and I need something immediately, I can do it that way. Right now, I have to actually sit at one of the consoles in the dispatch center to do my report.
But cloud-based access.
Yeah, cloud-based access that they can't provide us now because of security.
Can you brief,
So being cloud-based, so there'll be a, yearly service. What that will be.
that's included in this cost, or it would, I think the mayor's asking every year past this, how much that costs?
I had that pulled up a little bit ago, it's gonna be about $6,000.
Maintain that cloud.
Yeah, additional to what we already have. Whole thing would be an additional $6,000 to what we're already paying for that.
And what we have now is cloud-based.
What we have now is hardwired into the dispatch center, that's why I can't access it from anywhere else, I have to.
I'm, you're not talking to Daryl, you're talking to me. You understand.
Would you please speak briefly about how a new system would prepare us for next Gen 911, and a little bit about how the new system will allow people calling in to send pictures and
Right, so Next Gen 911 is something that's gonna be required, which, is a state requirement, and I think it's a federal requirement. Next Gen 911 allows us to see from the dispatch center. And they can send pictures or videos of what's going on. Better to our officers, which if they need to follow up, and, possibly to fire. So if fire got on board with us, we could send the fire to the firemen so that they know what they're getting to. It's something that's gonna be required in the next few years, and this will prepare us for that.
Awesome.
And I believe that was the last, item on capital.
Can we take a 10-minute break?
Oh.
We're gonna stay live on cam, people, live on cam. I will let it go.
I'm sorry that we should call today. Oh, that's worse than crazy. Oh. I just needed. Well, I didn't need it, but.
You can hear a party?
Okay, Smiley, you had me for a second.
While we were talking, while you're downstairs.
So for one thing, we are running these wires, which are copper wires,
Somebody called in.
back. Because we're doing YouTube after back.
So, weird.
So, the once these are done, this is gonna be done over there. Yeah, also,
Yeah,
this,
okay.
so this system will
That's a great question.
that other, but this one
They
is
are.
away.
I'm very surprised at how much
And
people.
explain it better to you. This phone, the speakers. So I always thought that this talks to the speaker, listens to the phone, talks to the speaker, it gets off of the hard time talking.
Well,
But it's
just in case you say something you're not supposed to.
also, well, and the other thing is, they think there's a way around that, is that we don't want to, this speed, that we're gonna get on wood. Speed off, and usually that's take it, and that's a great speed, I don't know if people keep it.
I don't understand that.
But it is a great
Yeah.
speed. Let's have-
Doesn't say that's what the.
So then it won't have the interruption of the magical weird.
Then you'll be good.
We're good to go. So then we won't have, I mean, for instance, if you were zooming in, like, not like, where I don't know, like ones that. Christopher Moser that are trying, we've still have to do the Zoom. We'll have the, we'll do it over there. It's usually on the presentation. It's just, right now we're doing 3 things on one computer. And in the future, we'll probably do one, maybe 2. So.
Well, I thought that was.
No, that's. Yeah. But if you think about it, you might, we went for longer, one of those actual.
What you want, yeah, in a public area. what do we do?
You can't find one that can be,
It's not, you can't buy it.
Yeah, I'm like, 50 foot, well, you gotta have a,
Yeah.
then that's what it's.
well, I think with the supply chain problem, he hasn't been able to get the access to the DDA.
I haven't sponsored it, I have
Well, why
both
did you-
deadlines. I was just wondering why they did that. Know that, Sean, that, you missed that grant. We, let me tell you why. We could have used the DDA second sponsor, because they're a separate entity. They're an independent entity.
But the event's not downtown. But the event's not downtown.
Part of it is.
Well, no, they applied for the grant, the other celebration.
What's that?
The Latino Heritage Celebration did apply for that grant. But it's downtown.
But we couldn't because it's uptown. I'll find out, because I know the lady very well, the chairman of that board.
If all we needed was a partner, we could come up with one person.
Yeah, the DDA,
Well,
they're a separate entity.
well, but.
Partners.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk to Sean, but I know Andrea was looking into that grant, and the report was that we didn't qualify, and that's why they called it off. We had the information, we had last year's grant, we were planning on it, but that's what happened when it was on the fifth, is I was just told that we qualified for that.
But if we needed a partner for something like that, one phone call and you could have a visitor.
That's true, I think it was more than that, because, I know Andrea looked at that grant.
I'd be interested to know before we go to WAM next time, because those guys are always there, so we can come on them a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, I'm not.
I'm just looking at it.
By the way, I noticed you got a long hair.
That what?
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it's turned out.
State, like, the other communities.
Right there, but. You don't cut it like.
I don't know, like I said, I was just told that we didn't qualify.
Yeah.
And then, why they called it off. We had all the information.
No, I didn't know, sir.
Well, some of that stuff we can fix it.
I tried to let it
We can
go
fix
off.
it, then,
First retired.
we should. Not only you should, I mean, that's when you hit the all
Yeah, my hair was
Yeah.
like
That
that.
was my head was working on another way to do it or something.
I know, and then maybe they changed it, because Patty's understanding is that there wasn't a partnership requirement. But our grant writer went through it and discovered there was, so, that's my understanding.
Oh, did he?
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's what we need to take a closer look then.
I appointed today.
Oh, wow, you.
Whole different person, yeah.
I wouldn't have recognized you if you hadn't told me.
A little gray part out of the beard, but, yeah.
When you retired.
When I retired, I just let my beard grow out, and, yeah.
You've ever had your hair fixed?
Oh, you know Jason.
Yeah,
He was gonna hit
play
me
in the
one
band,
time.
yeah.
I lived in Alaska, and I worked on an army base.
Yeah, when everybody else is like, where's that at?
Fort Wainwright.
Oh, okay, yeah, absolutely.
They go, they do it.
Like, yeah, yeah.
Get by, yeah, there you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is cool.
If I assigned a person to me, and if I didn't, ended up with a ripped off fender and nobody knew what happened. You know what I mean? So everybody, now, if, for instance, I mean, that happened. You had to walk around and. I was there for like,
One person to a brand new truck.
and without knowing, it's hard to tell.
The other thing. We had a. That's like crazy, over an 8 because they don't have the time frame, yeah, you could be at the pub at 10 o'clock at night, and you're like, oh, let's go. Yeah.
You know what we did?
Yeah, that's
At the county, we bought our papers out of the semi. And we paid, I think, price by the semi, but we had to store it, and we lost all of that, but we didn't lose that.
Hi, are you the one that's pulling this stuff up? What do you say? Get on it. We got places to go.
Nobody's even paying attention to
That
that.
retail.
The email, interesting, I need you to throw that up on the board.
Yeah, just hold on.
So we're at fire,
Yes, sir.
capital expenses.
We are. Is everybody, ready to back underway?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so,
The very last,
I'm sorry, yeah.
fire.
Find the first one on there?
First page.
Yeah, first page, top.
This is hard. Necessary,
We all good? Yes? Yeah. Okay, just wanna make sure, all right, I don't wanna take off without you, you're still looking. All right, so, obviously, we wanted to prioritize these, and you've heard a lot about this in the past year that I've been in this position, is our self-contained breathing apparatus, our firefighter PPE are number 1, 2. Now, obviously, that could change in minutes if one of our, grants come through. For right now, as you see, I put those out for the next 3 years, instead of asking for all that money up front to give us a little bit of room, I think, everywhere. Those are number 1 and 2, and our air compressor, our Bauer air compressor, next year will be basically out of date. And yes, it's a big buy, it's about $80,000 to $90,000. Don't do it now, we'll get to the position where this department's been in for quite some time, and, we have stuff that is out of service. We're not to have it that way.
Can you tell me the difference between that and a regular air compressor?
Sure. So, Bauer air compressor basically has, if you take the cylinders, right, and you can put them in, it's got 4 containers for it, so you can do 4 bottles at the same time. Pressure range up from anywhere from 4,500 to 7,000 PSI, depending on what tank you have. But it's all safety enclosed, so that once we do it, you basically shut it down, and it allows, if there's any, issue with the bottle, any interval, it does explode, which has happened before, not to us, but, it has happened. It's basically the safety case where nobody will get hurt. They are a very, very expensive piece of equipment.
With that PSI, I could see that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, normally the ones that we get for SCBA's do not, go past 7,000, but, that's enough that if one explodes, you in this area will know it. Does that help explain, sir?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we did have, AEDs and that stuff put in from last year. Unfortunately, they were a lot more expensive than what we thought, so, we did get the 5 that we ordered, for the fire department. We still need, why is that number not on here? Be 2
2 of the 1000s and 2 of the CR2 AED for public uses. We do have the one for the rec center and city hall on order, but there was a massive back order on them, so, this right here will put us all together as far as every one of our vehicles, our stations and that stuff will be 100% for AEDs.
Have Lucas machines?
We now have 3 Lucas machines. We ordered we had one on the ambulance. Some of the money that you gave us for impact assistance, we were able to get one for the new ambulance that's coming in, and we have one on one of the vehicles that goes out, Unit 9. So yes, Lucas machines, basically, if you're not sure what they are the automatic, defibrillators that you can put on people, so that it can work that as you're trying to do other things with the patient. A critical piece of the, equipment.
Didn't they add Mustang in here?
No, I just, I thought I had the numbers on how many that we needed, and I don't, so.
We're okay.
Yes, we're okay, absolutely, 100%, that's what it. Okay, so we have one of our vehicles, which is Unit 10, up for its 10-year replacement. I did find out the mileage, on it, and thank you for asking that question, because I would not have had that for you. So the mileage right now is at 100,450. And yes, we don't quite idle like the, police department does, but once again, our vehicles, when they get out, they run pretty hard. And like I said, you can see the priority that it's all in, so you can see that too. Our parking lot at Station 2 is cracked all over the place, and, I got it. Sorry, thank you for, it is, and it's something that we don't fix, we're gonna have a massive issue with that parking lot, so.
They're cracking the fire station.
Yes, sir, there is, and I think as a matter of fact, if we go down a little bit, no, we don't have that on here. I think that was something we were gonna have facilities come down to look at and see what we could do. I do have down here, about the floor being resealed, because there are a lot of cracks in the floor. That's where I'm more concerned about, the vehicles and that stuff parking on, as heavy as they are, if they start cracking in there, then you'll start spalling, and if you do not get that redone and resealed, yeah, we're gonna have a lot of problems with that floor.
Surprised it lasted as long as they had.
Yeah, I mean, we've been very, very fortunate from what I understand, we have not had to put any type of money.
We used to put backstop for baseball property. There's that, those holes with sink.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no bottom to that. So if you look at Walmart, when they built it, they built, then they poured cement down into the ground.
Yep. Right.
The floor thing.
Yes, sir.
I've got some information and I need to bring it and give it to y'all. For several of you that are doing floors, it's a new process that, they come in and grind the floor and then put this epoxy on top.
Yes, sir.
And it's, there's all kinds of different ones, anywhere from abrasive, whatever, but it strengthens the cement. It's kind of a new thing. I'll get that information.
That would be awesome, yeah, because that's exactly what we're looking for.
It's.
To have a little bit of the grit on the floor too, so that obviously, it can get slick with the vehicles leaking water, this, that, and the other, so yeah.
Yeah, painted floors are slick.
They are slick, I don't care what type of boot you got, you can do some ice skating on those things.
Yeah, this stuff's an epoxy. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. It's really.
Excellent, yeah, I mean, if you have that information for us, that's.
Yeah, I meant to bring that and I left it at home.
Okay, thank you. Going down, number 8 on there is a bunker gear dryer. Basically, we have a washer and an extractor for our gear, but we do not have a dryer. So basically, they have to sit out and air dry. If we need them quicker than what we'd like to have, you're gonna be putting on wet gear again. So it's just, like I said, it's something very nice to have extracted, put it in the dryer, and then back on the, gear rack to go. We talked about the floor resealing. The next ones are technical rescue class. This is stuff that I was, talking to Sean about, that, I wanted to have these done, basically like an impact assistance, but obviously I think that's not gonna happen. So I put them, they're kind of at the bottom of our list for, capital, is a class for all the guys to get certified in high angle confined space rescue, and it's basically because of what we have out there in the big fields. If you've ever seen one of those rescues that have to be done on the windmill, it is, I don't know, kind of frightening. You have to be extremely well trained to do it.
Well, but, you know, in my experience, one time there was a big fight about they would not give us the, GIS location of each tower.
Okay.
And so then my question was, what happens when, you have an emergency and somebody, dangling from one of the blades?
Yes, or trapped up in that actual
Yeah,
area.
and they said, you call us, 'cause you have nothing to get them down with anyway, and that's probably true, 'cause you don't have a 300-foot ladder.
Right.
And anyway, that's concerning to me, 'cause we have 1,000 towers now in Carbon County, we're gonna have another, I probably have 1,200 now, we're gonna have another 1,000. No one in the county really has the capability of, reaching those folks or helping them.
Right, and this course we obviously don't have the equipment that does it, as far as vehicles, no, but we would have, through basically a high angle rope rescue. There's people in, like, New York City right now, they do high rises, and they have the ability to be up, 1,000 feet in the air and do a rope rescue.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so I'm saying, and that's kind of what the course would be, that, if somebody gets stuck up on top and we need to go get them, yeah, you're gonna have to climb up, put everything together, you know what I'm saying, and be able to rappel that person down with you.
I don't know if we'll ever, I'm just telling you, I think the wind companies already know we can't do that.
Right, yeah,
So
I mean, we
they-
don't
they
have that
have-
capability now.
So they maintain that capability.
Right.
Conversation went like, what happens if somebody's dangling, they're like, you can't do anything about it, and so then I said, okay, let's say they quit dangling, they're now laying on the ground,
Right, yeah, and,
why won't you give us that?
Yeah.
And they won't, but anyway, it's
Right.
just a concern of mine.
And like,
If
one of
there's
the big
somebody
things-
hanging from one of them, we don't have anything to help them.
right, and I agree with that.
Then they have to fly somebody in, and they explain the whole process to me, but I would not wanna be the guy hanging on the rope.
Neither would I, to be honest with you, so, yeah. Went through a high angle rescue course in Littleton, Colorado, many, many years ago, and I tell you what, climbing up that 120-foot water tower on that open face ladder with nothing, yeah. If you don't like heights, you'll find out real quick if you like them.
Well, and that's halfway up one of those towers.
Exactly, yeah, that's exactly right, so I'm with you. Anyway, like I said, these are things that we were looking at. The ballistic helmets, level 4 plates, and body armor. I know that sounds very, very silly for firefighters to have, but, today's world of society, we get called out on calls, we don't know what's happening. Even in the smaller communities, you'll see that the command vehicles who go out there first all have this stuff, just in case. Active shooter events, like I said, this is more of, yes, I'm gonna throw it at you, this is more of a wish list at the bottom here. But it's something that we would look at, fairly hard. We've had calls and that stuff, and we went out with the police department already, and there were people out there that, although may have not said what happened real quick about being shot, guns are out. And unfortunately, you can be a target just being the first. I wanna be honest with you, that's why they're at the bottom, and if they have to be taken off the list, we off the list, but I wanted to put them on there just to let you know that this is, personally, I think in our career field, it's become a necessity. I hope nothing like that ever would happen here, in Rollins. Anyway, that's my list. Any questions at all about it? I think you understand where our big priorities are, that is our PPE. I mean, that really is, it still seems to be that. Questions are good?
I don't have any.
Excellent. Okay. I'll move on. Oh,
All right, so same page. We're gonna, skip past community development, and actually, I wanna point out one, on number 11, on community development, painting your golf course building in Pro Shop. I'm not gonna be able to be here tomorrow, evening when we talk about this, over early. wanted to point out from our perspective, the thought that the golf course restaurant, whole building, in the budget, last year, and we actually started kind of chipping away, looking at what you that. So I just wanted to point out that it's really bad shape. And our facilities are through community development, but I'm here to tell you Parks and Recreation board as well, if need be. Just want to let you come out to the golf course, or I'd be happy to meet you out there. And it's not a huge cost. Cost is probably painting houses, but. All right, so on to, golf course. Number one is a new holding tank for hole number 6 restroom. This has been leaking all last year. Normally we pump it out like at the beginning of the season, once at the end of the season. Last year it was like every week. These crew had to bring the back truck out there and pump it out. We were brainstorming what might be wrong. We finally called a company that knows that type of stuff, and they went out and looked, and what we found out just a few days ago is that the bottom of the holding tank is here and the top is here. They're 2 pieces basket in between. So we basket, which means pull it up, and so it's not going to cost what we're asking there. We might even try to tackle it before the end of the. Probably want to leave it there just in that one. Got to get it fixed. And now we're trying to figure out. Again, as a city, because safety is always the first in my mind and my staff as well. I don't know what kind of trench would be around that dig, because then you have to get bodies down there to put that basket in. And I'm fairly well trained on trenching and so. If we only have to dig down to about that top piece, it will likely require a crane operator to come in there and lift. Still some unknown, but now we finally have an answer to what's wrong.
How deep are you talking, do you think?
I thought, I was like, what is that, 11 feet? No way my guys are getting down there. It's 5 feet. But we found out, so. We're getting to the bottom of that here in a week or so.
No pun intended.
Hardly funny. The next item, number 2, is a John Deere Pro Grader work vehicle. These are the vehicles that we use. Some have dump beds, some don't, but these go out on the course onto the turf areas. They're lightweight, but they're work vehicles. We can load them with dirt, we can load them with everything live. And I do want to point out, and you'll notice if you look out forecasting, I'm tentatively looking at maybe replacing one every couple of years. That's how outdated our equipment is, of course. And I'll give you rotators right now that are not working. We sent to the shop to figure out what it's going to cost to repair them. $17,000 for one, and $16,000 repair a vehicle. We did work with Lou and his community development crew and the mechanic over there. The thing about this city is the partnerships between departments, and so we ended up parts, and we're going to take labor between our maintenance mechanic and cut that $17,000 down to probably one so bad. So that's why that's high priority. We need to keep those. The next is a fairway mower. Again, we're just getting down to this equipment. Like some of these mowers have 4,000 and 5,000, or I say, 4,000 hours on them, and I think they recommend realistic about us. Make sure we have good operating equipment, because the last thing we want is a big tournament or a nice weekend and a fairway mower goes down or a green. Range picking unit, that the low, kind kind of a low cost, but it's full of duct tape and Band-Aids. The last couple of years, we've just,
What is it?
it's to pick up the golf balls on the range.
Oh.
And then, next line item is triplex mower. Again, this is kind of like the fairway mower. We have these mowers that are outdated and a lot of hours on them and require a lot of maintenance repairs in the off-season. Next one down is sign and landscaping. One of the thoughts of the pro shop and I know when I went out for my interview in last year, or whatever it was, I had a little bit of time and I drove out to the golf course and I'm like, what sign is, there's nothing that says it is. I know it's a links course and we're not at trees out on the course and everything, but the other golf courses, when you golf course, it should be writing, wow, that's a, we'd like to put a sign on the building facing the parking lot that says golf course and restaurant, and or things like that. Then the next down is retaining wall. I mentioned earlier in the operations budget that I'm asking for $11,000 to hire a consultant to give us options, building a retaining wall on the, out there along, so this is pushed back a year. We're looking at the next fiscal year, we work with a consultant to come up with, options, and then the following year, we would, I'm hoping that $175,000 is gonna decrease quite a bit if we change from plastic wall to something like rock or something else like that. That's it for golf. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Question, actually. When we've been couple items together, I'm asked our whole department head factoring in all this, everything is just going up like this. Is that the case for you? Just wondering if maybe, what I mean, because of the cost increase, or if it's factored in by different.
Factored into the best of our ability. The only one I would question maybe is the, John Deere Pro Gator. I put $36,500, I think the last one we bought was $34,000. They are going up, I think they went up. That one on the way. Other than that, I think we just.
They take the trade.
They do in some cases, yeah, the John Deere for sure. A lot of our equipment has.
Golf cart lease.
Thank you, that's what I was missing. So I have that down here, sorry to take some time, but I feel like I should explain. This year, we put $40,000 in those golf carts for new batteries, the old batteries we bought, maybe all the windshields, wasn't a huge cost. In-house, we replaced most of the seats. Of course, carts are in pretty good, look good, batteries, have a hard time asking, after spending cents to ask for new golf carts next year. Golf community has golf carts because they're kind of end of life, and I get that, but the reason I put this in for next fiscal year is most cannot spend that money, and it basically would be a 5-year lease, about $1,000 a year for about $45,000. The reason I'm asking council to consider, in case by the end of this year, or sometime July, August, September, we realize that our carts are not doing well, if struggling, and we might come to council and say, we should. My gut tells me that we're not gonna maintenance mechanics put a lot of work into it, there was rods, and most golfers take parts, but, you know, every time that out doing things like, let me give you that, because you might that guy because I'm not parts right away, but I have a hard time because we,
All they have to do is work.
I mean, they look pretty good, I mean, brand new windshields, you know,
In electric vehicles, they're,
going forward, we would pitch the council our smooth. But I should bring up right now, I believe if we bought new golf carts, 5-year lease program, $1,000, buyout from these carts. That, other than that, 40, yeah, so each one, so 45 carts, $45,000, there's 1 year of the lease paid. So I guess I should be honest and say, what are we gonna lose in the golf carts if we wait another? All right, any
I
other?
wear stuff out.
For parks, the first one there is entryway landscaping. This is kind of a continuation of what we've been working on. We had a work session with council a few months back to talk about some of the entryway. This could also be, open fees as part of that 6 penny that's sort of down at the bottom, but we talked about at that same meeting about bringing some of that, hire somebody to come in here and to, develop a plan for that west end. We did decide, part of that, discussion and part of the 6 penny funding is to develop the maintenance standards for all of our entryways, which would really be our park system as well as the golf course. We feel like we can handle most of that in-house. Check that out, so Tyrell and I. That could be part of the consulting. $1,000 for, next one is park infrastructure improvements, and this is just general infrastructure improvement. Concrete in our park system. Have a meeting, we have right now 15,000 in the current for Rob Roy Park, and we have Friday at 1. Top of that, and, out of what we've done, rather than waiting 10,000 or 200. Our focus now is safety.
If you redo the Rob Roy Park area, would you want to do basketball? I think it's concrete.
Right, so, that's the trouble with not knowing the status of the CDBG. Rob Roy Park was one of those applications with all handicap accessible areas, the basketball courts would be instead of a circle, metal surface, because so, it's a hard time trying to spend money when maybe that funding comes to priority. So when we meet Friday, our focus is gonna be on. Next is a mid-sized truck for the park superintendent. He drives a gas hog right now, and he doesn't need to have all the tools in bed space. Like myself, I was driving a overtime pickup 6-liter, a half, or a mid-sized truck, half miles, because I don't need. Looking to do the same thing. Next is skid steer attachments, $40,000. Council approved, thank you very much, on, impact assistance fund. We had our bid opening last week or the week before, we had 6 bids. So, we're going through those right now, and I think we're hoping to get those on the agenda for, bid for skid steer attachments. They're asking for us to increase.
What kind of attachments extra are you?
So, good question, probably a better question for Tyrell, but there's everything you can imagine under the sun, from blowers, forklifts, I think we're already getting in this. They have augers, they have wood chippers, exactly where, Tyrell had it. And next page. Also Parks is an air compressor. This will be used at the golf course a little bit. Most of the golf courses are much larger. This air compressor would help us, in the fall to blow out all of our parks, all of our irrigation systems. Right now, we have to rent one and one. This was last year, this last fall was my first experience. I was stressed out. We didn't have a, air compressor to stop the system. What happened? Well, we gotta go through somebody in Casper. Well, it just, somebody from Sinclair had rented one from, rather than having to go up to Casper to get it, we just drove out there and picked it up. So it would just be much more convenient. We'd sleep better knowing that we have our own air. A lot of work to do in a short period of time, and if it's not done right, we the next one is an ice groomer, and I didn't think about this before, but when, we're looking at operating the outdoor ice rink across from the rec center. We're excited about that. I still question what we're gonna do to keep the, and, while Blaine from the fire department is and said, yep, we'll get out there and we'll float, piece of water whenever you need it to do that. It's not an easy task. Okay, so you gotta, that was on one end of the, walk away, and I don't feel like that's a good fix. I think we probably ought to look into some sort of agreement. Like when we did look at, we are looking at that as far as an attachment. Question is, can you skid steer that way to? Still looking at what is the best way to do it. We have a piece of equipment that has a, lever on it, and so I don't know if there's gonna be something to consider. If we wanna file this next winter, how it goes, and say, that would have been nice to have a building or something, so that's the top of the list. So I'm willing to get, right here and have a learning experience. Their priority for us.
I think if you have one of those circular room attachments on the front of the, skid steer, it would probably clean that, well, and then a coat of water.
Behind it, and I've read up on it, and you
After you
have
sweep
like
it, of course.
like a towel or a mop or something. Yep, so back and it kind of still.
Clean that snow off of there before.
Yeah, we gotta stay on top. We have the equipment to remove that ice and safety cracks, things that are. The next is a dump trailer. That's lower on the priority. A lot of it is for the cemetery when we, sites, we haul it away for a day or half a day, and then we bring it back to the grave site. A lot more convenient, hauling it across the park for the backhoe. Then truck with a dump bed has a similar, if that's more specific, that's more specific to the. The next several are not in the current years, in this next. I do wanna bring up real quick the, Bolton Park restroom replacement. So Washington Park and Bolton Park restroom replacements are two of the other CDD. But Sean gave me great news about Bolton Park last week. There's a family, I believe, that donated, money to there, and there's interest,
About $100,000.
$100,000 that'll become available. Wheels started turning.
Let me touch on that
The
real quick.
The Bolton family,
Yep, and
it's my understanding that sometime I was told that I had a common loan and we just didn't use it for whatever.
yeah, and then we found out from Deb Hannum in finance that it's now under the city's name. So, and the interest that we're getting on that $100,000 is nothing really,
No.
and it's probably, and where supposedly now it's under our name for the city, we actually use that $100,000 and do some.
Trying to end that, trust fund, is that what we're sending money in?
If there's any money that's going into it, I don't think there's been money going into it in a long time, we just use. If it's the council's desire, we could look at probably some pretty cool improvements to Bolton.
That will probably be another conversation, council, and that would be another opportunity, a great opportunity, town hall meetings, Fire Station 2, south side of. The wheels started turning, like, oh, there's all kinds of great things we can do. Then I step back and questions really need to be. Yeah, the rest of them are pushed back future fiscal. And then shooting range is next. Number one is a trap thrower repair kit for the shooting range for $6,000. Recreation center, the first item that we had is, $30,000, new roller skates. We're really excited and would love the opportunity to do roller skating to the recreation center. Involved with the roller skating program in the past, it was extremely. In the last two community impact surveys, there was a lot of, comments about post-on state. So there was a long thread about roller skating. Friday evening, Saturday evening, but I think more than that, it could also an opportunity for the recreation. And I should point out that the more we increase our revenues in the recreation and the golf course and things like that, the less we are pulling from the general. That's an important way that our department to do our part. So the other part of having a roller skating program is parties, the revenue source for us in a previous job that I came here from. 5, 6, 8, 10. Have a birthday party at the recreation. I don't know how many. Party and inviting people to do. I think people would really, we put that number one for the recreation.
That hurts the gym.
Where we were, it was a gym floor. Have to monitor which skate rollerblades, there's the issue with the hardware that's on the side in case they fall, so we would either outside skate. Absolutely, because I don't know how many, the gym floor, all the way to the raw wood surface, to get that nice. Don't wanna damage that.
We used to have a roller skating rink here. Open, it was pretty busy. That's all an hour or whatever.
Our biggest thing is staffing it, but I almost look at it like it's not bringing more jobs for families, jobs for young adults. I don't think we'll have that. Next one on the recreation center is a sign for the recreation center. If you're anywhere on the east side of town and you look at that rec center, either the road way, 287. You don't know what that building is, but there's a big open space right on the front. Great opportunity to have there looking into what the cost would be, so cost you see there is pretty accurate, we feel. The next one is a wear course parking lot for the rec center and the sports complex and the VFW field. I know this was in last fiscal year's budget, and it's rolled into this fiscal year budget. It has not been done, and one of the reasons it didn't get done last year is it impacting, public. What we wanted to do, so last fiscal year, the public works director, workforce to be done throughout the city, the area, so we wanted to jump on board with that contract. It would have saved us up here, and then we had a transition, so that didn't happen. And this year, it's just been the same. So technically, it's a rollover into this year, but the way we're working with rollover funding, so in other words, if we weren't able to spend that money, not really considering it a rollover, it's not an automatic rollover to ask the council again. But it's a rollover. Wanted to point that out, those parking lots are pretty bad, and I wanted to add, lane tracks, is that where course parking lot, is that the same way that you would repair that? Because if so, you and I, and possibly Cody with Public Works, if he has that in his budget, I kind of all work together. Does it? That is it for Parks and Recreation.
Okay, now we're gonna go to positions, the very, very last page.
Okay, the first one is the, third line down is the, code enforcement officer, already in the budget for this year. Doesn't get unfrozen and filled by the end of the budget year, obviously I'd like to carry that over to the next. Drop down a couple lines, this is about halfway down, fix and special. So, Wyoming in general and Rollins specifically has a much higher ratio of victim advocates to the population they serve. I saw where I came from. Tells me that the state and the city put a high value on victim advocates. So the just one of the things that makes me proud to be here. The Rollins Police Department has a full-time victim advocacy suit. We also have a full-time victim advocate and one part-time position. They're currently funded by grants. What I'm asking is that the full-time position that's currently filled by an excellent be moved over to be a city-funded position. A number of reasons for this. One is the importance of the position. I don't want to lose it. The next is the quality of the employee that's currently in that. I don't want to lose her. In terms of the funding, it's federal money through a VOCA grant and another grant. We're receiving information, that those grants are beginning to dry up. In the future, the amount of money provided by those grants is going to decrease potentially. What I'd like to ask is that the city fund that position in terms of the salary and the, benefits. However, we do have a grant application out right now to fund it. What I would propose is to secure the position, to take care of the employee and give her stability and know that she will continue to have a job. Put it in the budget as funded, but in May, when we find out if we receive money for that position, we could still apply it to the position and then save the money. So, that's what I'm proposing. If also hypothetically, we had asked for funding in this grant that we will hear about in May for that position and 2 part-times. I have a part-time currently that's, funded, the second would be. Because of my role of taking care of the employees and ensuring the services that we provide, that's my top priority in terms of. The next one down is an animal control civilian. So, animal calls for service are usually in the top 5. Volume. 2 full-time animal control officers. One of them has been on light duty due to work, leaving us 1 animal control officer. In addition to the high volume of calls that they handle, that the police officers don't have to handle, they also go back to the shelter every day for the public hours in the afternoon when the public can help adopt animals. In addition to that, they spend a number of hours every day caring for the animals in the shelter. There are times when both animal control officers are not available, out of town. Currently, the office manager, that in line, has also been going over there during her workday to take care of the animal officers are out of. What I'm proposing is a civilian, animal control employee who would be at the shelter all day long. This would expand the ability to have hours to the public open. Hopefully that would translate to the ability to adopt more animals out. Also, this position then would take care of the animals all day long, thus freeing up the animal control officers to be out on the street handling calls for service. High number of calls. And the, salary there is included. One civilian employee to take care of the shelter, allowing the animal control officers to be out. That's extras, yeah, salary and that. Before I sit down, I want to thank Lieutenants Frakes and Hooper and, the lead of the civilian, supervisor for our dispatchers for. Thank you for your time. Welcome back, yes, okay. So the 2 positions that, I have, listed in for the fire department, are in that order. Number one, I think it is key critical to get a full-time fire inspector in this, yes, our boys do it, but it is a major task on them to fire inspections, and they do them every day they're at work. So, I think we talked about this before, I think we brought it up, when we had our little, meeting in January too, about the fact that, you know, we're the only full-time paid fire department in this state that does not have, and the admin assistant, which I have down there, but I would gladly doing the admin assistant work myself, no issues, of course, with the help of Alan. I'm not thinking, that fire inspector is my number one request, period. One of the things that we would do, we kind of did with the building official too, is, we would look, during the hiring process of having somebody who is not just a fire inspector, but also a certified firefighter. Utilize them as a plus one to our response capability too, if that's possible. It's great with, Ariel, because she has been, and she's been able to get on our calls, and we've done a lot better about, response times because she's been over there. I know her full-time position is a building official, but boy, it's nice to have her right there with you, where she can make most of the calls with us too, so.
Would they be
Exactly. So like I said, if we put it down just as a full-time fire inspector, if you could put it down as a job description of just that, where they would not be required the operational training and that kind of stuff that we would do for all the, obviously the firefighters. However, it would find full-time fire inspectors or people who have that certification that are also certified firefighters, and that is just a plus on both ends. So, yeah, but if they came in just as a fire inspector, no, they are not required the same hours of training that. Yeah, I apologize. Yes, there you go, yeah. That's all I have for you all, on that, so I think you guys can understand where we come from in the fire station. Thank you for listening to that too. You're welcome. Thank you.
Words you wanna share? No position from Parks
Thank
and
you
Rec.
for giving us another recreation supervisor position. We are not reflecting any positions.
And just debated, I think we're doing pretty good on time compared to last year, right? Just a quick thing I wanted to mention, and first, thank you to everyone that presented tonight. They did a really good job putting everything together, being really prepared, organizing everything. So, props to everyone, thank you very much. So, just to let you know, with the FY '23 budget, when you take a look at, our anticipated revenues and expenditures that are being proposed as is right now, without the capital, just the operating budget. It is, a balanced budget with still some room there. The sewer fund, with the anticipated expenses would be balanced without the capital. Water, I was the same, sorry, I had a note I wanted to look at right before I was saying it. Water would be balanced without capital. Landfill would be balanced without capital, and then recycle, I need to do some work on. Oh, I'm sorry, so it's recycle that needs some work, and then water also needs some work, because if we were to run the pretreatment plant, have those costs for operating it, which was over $1,000, that will actually put us upside down in that fund. So if we're gonna run the pretreatment, we're gonna have to raise rates, we don't have a choice. Just wanna throw that out there for consideration. But I will be doing a little work on the recycle, and, any thoughts on, I feel like we kinda have to do extra security for us, but I think
Describe that pretreatment, Tell me all about that, 'cause I don't remember that on the tour.
Right, maybe you didn't even go in there.
I don't think so.
So the pretreatment, so basically, you know, we have the springs, which is our main, and then we have the wells that we get that water from. They've been using the wells heavily, so they need to replenish. But right now, if something were to happen, we don't have much of a backup. The wells just don't produce that much. But the pretreatment takes the river water and brings it up, so that we can basically fill our reservoirs and actually use that river water essentially and bring it down.
So is
to
it more of a
usable-
sediment pond type setup? The pre-treatment part? I don't understand when you say
It
pre-treatment.
it helps to bring, so when you bring that river water over, you know how the NTIs are a lot higher than our, so it helps to bring those NTIs down, so that when it gets to our treatment plant, it can.
So it's like a sediment pond.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah. I guess if you have any feedback on, I mean, to me, having that extra backup is really important in the next 5 years as we're working on our line.
Water first. Don't care what we have to do to cut. Don't have water, all this good stuff that we have in here ain't gonna do us any good. And, I'd like to know what we have in the reserve. We have to have so much in there by state law. Wiggle room do we have in the reserve account? Those are the kind of things I'll know more when the auditor comes in. Revenue we have in the general account. Our plans and that yesterday. Hate to leave this council not being able to tell the public it is a major project, which is pipeline work, interior work, to help us with our that you're talking about. That's been a problem in the past. Anyway, that's where I'm at, I don't know. Bothers me that these patch jobs are. Here it comes up, and this. We don't want to.
Now, I'll just keep that, just something to have in the next little while, and then next, when we meet with everyone there, and what I would like to do is for council to go through budget and say, I wanna make these changes to budget from after hearing everything, make any changes to capital or those sorts of things, and we can talk about this again.
When we do that, how do we do that? Work session,
Yeah, there will be a work session next week.
what I would remove from the budget might not be fair. Those ain't, is that all make roll call and say, what do you think, how do you?
But we're thinking, this, all the information, our needs, our priorities, and the hope is that next week we'll meet, it gives you like a week to kind of talk these different things. And what we're hoping from that meeting is to get more of council's direction of after we went through all the budget of everything, should we need to make any tweaks before I prepare the final budget? Do we need to make any tweaks to the capital after you've heard those things? And then I can, budget together. So we're hoping for council's direction next time.
For clarification, you and I disagree, it's probably because you're wrong.
So it'll be a time where you two can argue.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. All that we have, Mayor.
And like Barry said, I mean, surely we're gonna sit down and talk about each item, like any discussion, no, move to the next item, and so forth and so on, and then there's some cuts that need to be made. A lot, in my opinion, but we'll discuss them.
The last thing I wanna add too is when I've been talking with Dan Izzo about this budget and really is feeling that it might be in the best interest for the council to hold off for a couple of months until we get that last audit, so that we can make informed decisions. So, because what we don't wanna do is approve a bunch of things and then find out we're putting ourselves in a hole. It would be better to just wait a couple of months and get the final product, and then it would be easy, because we're doing all the work now, and then 2 months later, we could go in and say, okay, based on all the work that we did, and we know where our money is now, we'll approve, a certain amount of items.
Do you mean like prior to July first? So doesn't it have to be approved by?
Yeah, so what I would suggest is that we approve the budget, that we've all gone through here, and then don't approve a lot of the capital items, maybe some of them we
I was
have
gonna
to.
say, don't, we have to pretty much all of the operation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things.
Yeah, so we would proceed with the budget, and
Okay.
then in a couple months, we'd say, okay, here's the capital, and then approve whatever we wanted to.
That makes sense.
But
Right, you have to still have money.
Well, if we get our back against the wall and we run into that July date, I think we can still approve the capital budgets with the agreement. You have to get prior approval, because it was,
All capital has to be prior to.
that makes sense.
Here's another thing too, I don't wanna see us put ourselves in the hole that we did all this, then find out later on, talking about increasing water rates, that I have to tell the public, well, we need to increase your water rates, and by the way, we spent all this money. I don't wanna be doing that, I don't wanna be doing that. I really have a problem. Have some work on some of those things, I think. We
That's
start
the
talking
enterprise.
increase in rates and spending a lot of money.
What I would recommend is that we approve the budget with new capital that are like critical, we need to get rolling on them. Back in a month, approve whatever, if we can just do a budget amendment and add them in there.
But we also can do it the other way too, I mean,
We could,
we need to approve the operations,
yeah,
but if our back is against the wall, we end up with the timing. We may wanna go back and look at some capital items as different times, it might seem, like a non-necessity, but they might. I'm nervous, I don't wanna do like 10 budget amendments.
yeah, and
I don't mind doing one or two throughout the year, but I don't wanna approve just the operations and then every single thing on the capital list after. I don't have that many, but.
what I'd like to do is one budget amendment, when we have the fund balances, do all capital, or whatever ones we want in one fell swoop.
I just hate budget amendments. So another half hour, Jackie?
So we have a meeting
For Public Works and